Hi, my name is Abdul Salam bin Azman. In this video, I'm going to talk about estate planning. In this topic, it contains about introduction, background of estate planning, purpose of estate planning, importance of estate planning, current issues, will, hibah, faraid, trust, and more. And I'm going to start with background of estate planning. So basically, estate planning is one of the requirements for individuals to manage their assets according to how they want to distribute them after their death. Estate planning is an important thing in case sudden death happen that are caused by accidents, injuries, and so on. For them to do those estate planning, a written will needs to be done. What is the will? In the will, they must list down how the asset will be distributed to their loved one or the person to whom they want to pass their assets to. The assets is divided into two, which are movable and immovable. Let's talk about the purpose of estate planning. First one is to make sure it will distribute according to the testator. As defined, before the testator may have or want to desire person to receive all his assets and want to distribute them fairly. So, the purpose of this estate planning is that all the beneficiaries will receive it according to the will that has been written by the testator while she or he is still alive. The second one, the cost of managing the asset can be fewer or reduced. If the person is not thinking of that estate planning, the consequences is the beneficiaries need to pay a lot of taxes and costs due to the frozen asset. The third one is to avoid any unwanted family disharmony. If someone has a lot of asset and has not written any will till their death, surely the family members will want the asset as there is no will. There is a bit of start where the family bickering begins. For the family circumstance that will arise, everyone should do estate planning. The fourth purpose in estate planning is as a protection for their children. If their parents die suddenly, their children surely will lose their source of income. So it is important for their children to have someone who will take care of them and raise them until they reach their legal age and know how to manage their parents' assets. The importance of estate planning. First one is an estate plan protects beneficiaries, an estate plan protects young children, an estate plan eliminates family messes, and an estate plan spares heirs a big tax bite. Let's go to the current issues of estate planning. Dumping of unclaimed properties. In Malaysia, there are 70 billion ringgit properties that have not been claimed by the heirs based on Irfan Shafi'i of the Muslim Lawyer Association of Malaysia. It is because of a lack of awareness to make a will before dying, especially people who live in rural areas. Other than that, owners of property occasionally conceal their wealth to the extent that their heirs are not aware of it when they pass away. Trust. A trust is a legal fiduciary arrangement that allows them to set up their assets to be held and managed by a third party. This party is known as a trustee, and a person or firm they appoint to this role will be responsible for ensuring that their estate is handled in the manner they have outlined. Hibah. Hibah means gift or movable or immovable property that occurs during the life of the settler. A Muslim can hibah his estate to anybody within living duration, whether partial or all or all of the estate, for example, by transferring the name in the house, title, or car and land. Assets can be placed under the hibah trust consists of movable assets and immovable assets with value. These assets must exist during the contract or akad. Movable assets include cash, bank savings, and shares. Immovable assets refer to assets such as buildings, houses, and lands. The next one is the importance of appointing a trust or trustee for assets. An estate planning trustee is appointed as someone who they believe to act to hold the asset and have capacity. However, under the Trustee Act of Malaysia, they have limited the number of maximum trustee to 4. Nevertheless, this restriction will be lifted if the case of asset vested in a trustee for charitable, religious, and public purposes. Below there will be more elaboration on why a trustee would be hired and the importance of hiring it. The first one is the beneficiaries under 18 years old or have disability issues. If the testator has a child who is below than 18 years old and has disability issues, it is very important for them to hire a trustee so that the children can continue living. After all, they cannot have or earn any income because they are still underage. Meanwhile, for someone who has a disability and can't handle finances properly, it is easier for them to have a trustee to handle it. Second one is if the assets have a high value, it would be easier to hire a trustee if someone has a lot of high value assets. Instead of hiring family members as a trustee, they may will unsatisfied with the beneficiaries that each of them will receive and may involve emotion, but by hiring a trustee, they will be easier for them to accept as what the testator has appointed and given to. The third one is no family members willing to be a trustee. If there are no family members who would like to be a trustee, you should consider hiring a professional trustee. At least your will be settled accordingly and meet all of your objectives. And your asset will not be frozen due to no trustee that can claim your asset. The preparental duties to manage a person's asset base in the case of incapacity of death. Matrimonial property. Matrimonial property is the property acquired by husband and wife during their marriage by their joint efforts of any such assets according to Sharia law. The factors of consideration by the court in dividing the claim property by considering the contribution made by money, work, and property. The indirect contribution of the housewife, debts of a spouse for the benefit of both parties, and the needs for minor children. As example, the matrimonial property was bought and registered in 1989 due to a shared loan in the Sarawak case of Muhammad Peridar bin Haji Leman versus Ani binti Osman. The defendant paid 49,000 ringgit while the plaintiff paid 55,000 ringgit. The plaintiff and defendant each received an equal part of the house from the court. The rule is equally applicable in case where it is impossible to determine how much of a contribution either spouse made in order to acquire the asset. In conclusion, Proper estate planning often involves paperwork to ensure that a person's intentions are carried out after death, and documents to safeguard that person's interest while that person is still alive. If you have any inquiries about powers of attorney or other estate planning instruments, get in touch with the license office to arrange a consultation with an estate planning attorney. A petition for the appointment of a conservator must be filed with the probate court if no one is legally able to manage the assets and affairs. This technique is expensive and widely distinguishable. In order to able to perform their duties, the trustee frequently needs to secure a relationship and submit regular financial statements to the court. For the recommendation of estate planning needs to be consulted with the person who is experienced and acknowledged in this field. The Malaysia government has provided the Valuation and Property Services Department and Financial Planning Association of Malaysia in order to assist the citizens with the knowledge needed in managing their property. The government also makes some advertising related to property through television such as strata, property, marriage, divorce, and property management, as it can be an awareness for the youngster in acquiring and how to handle any property related. So, we would like to recommend seeking advice regarding estate planning from legal authorities only. Lastly, will and testament can avoid dumping and unclaimed property. We would like to recommend making a will and informing the relatives how many properties that they possess under their name. This also will prevent the family messes, as the inheritance goes through a will that nobody can fight off even through court. The current issues of dumping of unclaimed property is really wasted to the family members and also their legacy, as that property can be used to achieve a better economy and life of that family. And that's all for me for the estate planning. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.